Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's bright and early, daily discipline, mind, body, and soul. This is how we get through. Anybody want coaching or mentoring, go to my website at skyazrael.com. You can also go check me out on Facebook or Instagram, send me a friend's request, and we can talk there. Let's talk about different decades, 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. Now, I probably should break this into 4 different videos. Let's start with your 20s and just see how far we get. I'm not going to go year by year. Let's just talk about the whole decade. And I want to talk about this in the context of what should you be doing with your life. So if you're in your 20s, this is what you should be doing with that 10-year period. If you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, we'll go over some things. Now, obviously this is a huge topic. We could go over each one of these for an hour at a time. I'm going to bust through this rather quickly. But let's start in your 20s. It's such a developmental time because you really transfer, you transition, transform, however you want to say it, from a child into an adult. I don't want to use the word man because manhood is kind of a philosophical concept and it comes a little later. Sometimes mid-30s or late 30s, sometimes early 40s. I would say if I have to put an age range on manhood, it comes usually around 37 to 42. In that range of age is when you realize I'm a man now. But in your 20s, you want to focus on learning, and there's lots of different ways you can learn. You could get a job. I definitely suggest that. You could join the military. That would have been a good thing for me. If I would have done that, it probably would have changed the course of my life. I'd be a much different person right now. No regrets, but it is what it is. You could go to college. I don't know if I suggest that these days with all the woke mind virus that's going on college campuses, but you could research a good university that's hasn't been infected by these people, by the woke people. The point is that you should be learning, absorbing information and becoming an expert in something. So by the time you exit your 20s, you have a skill set. You have something you've been doing. You have something on your resume. I can do that. And I've been doing that for damn near 10 years. I mean, an example, you could get a job as the lowest level helper at Roto-Rooter, the plumbing company, when you're 18 or 19, and then by the time you're 23, 24, maybe 25, you're a plumber. By the time you're 26, 27, you're thinking about starting your own business. Plumbers make good money. By the time you're 30, you're fully self-employed, making good money, got a good truck, thinking about moving forward in other ways. So learn. Another thing you should do in your 20s is to find your mate. It's a good idea. Now, I didn't do these things in my 20s. I wish I would have. I wasted my 20s. By the time I turned 30, I was no different than when I was 18, no different than when I was 16. I was like frozen in time, and I realized it right around 30, and all my friends were surpassing me in every way. And I felt bad about myself. I felt guilty. I felt ashamed. I was like, well, what have I been doing? They should teach this stuff in high school. That way you might have some idea, an outline of what your life's going to look like. But you should find your mate. You might want to date around and all that. I don't suggest becoming a whore or a slut, a man slut, whatever. Don't fuck 300 women. But have a girlfriend or two and find your mate, fall in love, and marry her. Another thing that in your 20s that you want to focus on is family. So if you had a contentious relationship with your family, your existing family, when you were a teenager, you hated your mom and your dad, work that shit out in your 20s. If you have to go to therapy, go to therapy. Go to church, whatever it takes. Build some family connections. These are going to be important to you as you move forward. But also you might want to start a family. So if you're lucky enough to have met your wife by the time you're 25, 26, maybe by the time you're 27, 28, 29, you guys can start thinking about having kids. And have 2 kids. So let's move to the 30s. I could sit and talk about the 20s for an hour. The 30s, I believe that at least with men, you should be focusing on your resume and moving forward with your financial growth. You should be thinking about climbing the ladder if you're in the corporate world or in the business world. You should be thinking about starting a business if you're an entrepreneur. Not everybody really is entrepreneurial in their spirit, and it does take time, effort, money, blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a lot. Not everybody is for that. You may want to just find a really good firm, a really good company, and go from the mailroom to the boardroom. But you want to be grinding in one direction and using what you did in your 20s, what you learned in your 20s, to really propel yourself forward in your 30s. And of course, moving forward with your family, raising your kids, learning how to be a father. It may take you 10 years to learn how to be a really good father. That's often not something that is just natural. And you have to learn how to do it. And learn how to stay married. Because you guys are now in your 30s. It's not that little hottie when she was in her 20s. She may have hit a brick wall. Can you stay in love with a woman who's having a hard time staying in shape and who might be a little frazzled because she's raised 5 kids and has to deal with your lazy ass also? You're going to want to work on these things in your 30s and really become a good husband, a good father, and a good boss. So then when you hit your 40s, some people look at that as where you just enter manhood. But when you hit your 40s, you're really starting to have a bank account. You're starting to have a savings account. Maybe you have money in the stock market or in, CDs or whatever. Maybe you've started to buy property. That's a really good way to invest. I bought my house, I guess I was, what was I, 34, 33? So I was lucky, but by the time you're in your 40s, you want to start buying stuff. Buy the building that you started your business in. You're that plumber from his 20s who became a self-employed plumber. Buy the building. Start a plumbing empire. Start your own Roto-Rooter. And you want to be thinking about your investment platform, your portfolio as a long-term strategy. This isn't just some get-rich-quick crap. You're not day trading in your 40s. You want to day trade and just get rich quick. Do that in your 20s, early 30s. Your 40s, you're talking about long-term investment, long-term payoff, long-term wealth, generational wealth, wealth that you're going to pass down to your kids. Because by the time you're in your 40s, if you had kids in your 20s, by the time you're in your 40s, your kids are like little adults, they're like little people. So you're going to put them to work. Maybe they're going to come into the family business. Your son's going to join the family business. So that way, by the time you get to your 50s, and I won't go into that long, I'm only 52, I'll be 53 in a week or two. You should be preparing for retirement. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to retire. You may retire at 65. You may still have 15 years, 12, 15 years, 20 years. Maybe you won't retire until you're 70. Think about it in your 50s. Prepare for retirement in your 50s. And that way, when you hit 65 or 70, you can retire. And you can have a vacation home, a condo, down here in Florida, or whatever your idea of a vacation is, of a nice retirement life is, and be ready to live your best life and to spend your golden years taking care of your family, being grandpa, being this wise old man, and not having to struggle. But this is just an idea, food for thought.